So initially, I thought on the OnlyFans side of things, ending sexually explicit content, it's stupid. I'm going to guess that 90% of their customers, of their customer base, are there for sexually explicit content. So on the business side of things, this makes absolutely no sense. But the more I look into it, the more I realize that the discussion that should be had around this has to be very nuanced.
Keep it 100, I be feeling like Campbell soup over white rice, baked chicken with the skin on, yeah, Lowry's with black pepper, I'm fully seasoned with that.
What's up, y'all? So this is not something that I thought I would ever be discussing, but here I am. So starting on October 1st, OnlyFans will be banning sexually explicit content. So to clarify, they're not banning nudity from their site, but they're banning content that is explicitly sexual. So their justification behind banning this type of content is that it's necessary for the long-term sustainability of the site. So Congresswoman Cori Bush, she tweeted about this, and that's why I'm covering it. So here's her tweet. So she tweeted, "Using sex workers to build your platform only to kick them off once you make it big is disgusting. Sex work is work." So underneath, I guess, is an article that says, it's an article by Input, never heard of them. It says, "Breaking: OnlyFans, after building a successful and safe space for sex workers, is now kicking them to the curb." So there's a very nuanced discussion to be had here. First, I want to go slightly off topic, and I'll talk about a conversation I had with some friends. So I never really understood the appeal of OnlyFans on the consumer side of things, simply because porn is literally free online. And then my friend explained to me that it's more intimate simply because people get to see people who they've had a crush on, or someone that they may know do things sexually, compared to someone who is a complete stranger, and that connection is not really there. So then I understood. So initially, I thought on the OnlyFans side of things, ending sexually explicit content, it's stupid. I'm going to guess that 90% of their customers, of their customer base, are there for sexually explicit content. So on the business side of things, this makes absolutely no sense. But the more I look into it, the more I realize that the discussion that should be had around this has to be very nuanced. So Cori Bush's point is that sex workers built up the platform, and now that their platform is huge because of those sex workers, they're kicking them off. I didn't really think of OnlyFans content creators as sex work, because I don't really think of OnlyFans at all, unless I'm planning on creating one. Why did I just wipe spit on my forehead? It's nasty. That's nasty. But let me know if you think I should create one. Joking. I'm joking. But it absolutely is sex work. It is sex work. But here's the thing about OnlyFans. It allows sex workers to be safe. The content creators who create sexually explicit content are sex workers, and they're doing so in the privacy of their own home, where they're much more safe than doing sex work on the street. So on that reason alone, I support the content creators. Sex work is going to exist no matter what, so it should be as safe as possible. So now here's a point where OnlyFans wanting to not allow sexually explicit content is justified. So underage creators, they're able to create fake identities and get verified and post sexually explicit content, or in other words, child porn. And so far, OnlyFans has only deactivated a total of 15 accounts of underage users and content creators. And if I were to guess, I would guess there's probably thousands of underage content creators who use some sort of fake identification in order to create an OnlyFans. So my question is, how would you solve this? I don't really know, because I am no expert on technology. There's many things I want to speak on that I haven't made videos as of yet, because I'm not an expert on these topics, but I will soon have experts on the topics I want to speak on my show. But like I said, I'm not an expert on this, so I don't know how these things work. But maybe they can create a system where identification cards are scanned and verified, and every time the content creators want to create that type of content or any content, their face is scanned and verified each time to make sure it's them that's creating that content, rather than, I don't know, someone like their parents. They scan their parents' ID card. So, just trying to make sure that the person who is creating that content is actually of age, that they're an adult rather than a child. But then some people might argue that may raise some privacy concerns. But I'm not sure how many users will actually care about privacy, because, But there has to be a way for underage users to be blocked from using the site. And I'm not sure if that technology exists, but that should be OnlyFans' prerogative in order to get that done. But this also brings into question societal issues. Many people who do sex work do so because they feel they have no other options in life. They're struggling financially. So they turn to sex works as a means of survival, as a means to just barely scrape by. There's some content creators that make way more than enough just to scrape by. They have more than just a pot to piss in. And good for them. But the vast majority of people who turn to sex work, that's not the reality for them. Many conservatives are against the living wage. Then they complain when people find other ways and other means of making money. They would say that sex work is immoral. And here's the thing, you can't have it both ways. You either believe in paying people enough for them to survive, or you believe in them finding other ways to make money. You can't be against both, because people need enough to make it. And isn't this the free market that many conservatives love to put on the pedestal? Because it's in demand. The people that make it big on OnlyFans, or people that, any amount of money that content creators that create sexually explicit content, there's a certain demand for it. So isn't this the free market capitalism that you guys approve of? So why are you complaining about it now? Because you find something immoral? So my question to conservatives who they're happy that OnlyFans will ban sexually explicit content: are you for the free market, or are you against it? It's one or the other. People living on scarcity will find other means to survive. And I want to be honest here, right? So a lot of you, especially younger conservative and even older conservatives, they believe that their parents were these Puritans. They had sex with one person, or they waited till marriage. But let's be real here. In reality, your mom was probably a hoe, your dad was probably a hoe, your grandparents were probably hoes. They're lying that if they told you only slept with one person their entire life, they're lying. I don't even know my dad, and he's probably a hoe, to be honest. So don't buy into and many of you who are making that whole Puritan argument, the vast majority of you didn't wait to have sex before marriage, didn't have sex with only one partner, and if some of you did, it probably wasn't by choice. If you had the option to have multiple sexual partners throughout your life, you probably would have. Let's be honest, let's be real. So I'll use anecdotal evidence, and this is also backed up by empirical evidence, but I'll use anecdotal evidence to show that people are going to turn to whatever means they feel necessary to survive. When I was about 12, 13 years old, this is before high school, I didn't get great grades in junior high school. Till 8th grade, I had pretty good grades, but I was thinking of selling drugs. Becoming a drug dealer, because I saw how much money it made. I didn't have an interest in getting into gangs, but I thought like, hey, if I sell drugs, I'm able to. My family struggled growing up a lot, so I thought, hey, selling drugs could really be a way to turn things around for my family and the way we live life. So I told my uncle that, hey, I was gonna start selling drugs. And the only reason why I did not start selling drugs was because he said if I sold drugs, he was gonna slap the shit out of me. Now, I didn't fear my uncle. I didn't. But I have a ton of respect for my uncle. And because of the respect that I had and still have for him, that's the reason why I didn't sell drugs. So many people that know me, especially in junior high school, they'd say different. They say I was bad. But in high school, they would say I was a very well-behaved, well-mannered. Many of them would vouch for my character. And also, a lot of them would... And here's something also about me when I was in high school and college. I had a 93, 94-ish GPA. I should have been a salutatorian, but damn teacher lost my final assignment. That's why I wasn't salutatorian, but I should have been salutatorian. And then also I missed like most of my senior year because I was in the hospital most of the time after surgery. But if not for those two things, I definitely would have been salutatorian. The valedictorian was way too smart. She was on another level, but I should have been salutatorian. So me, I was thinking of selling drugs. I went to Syracuse University for college, and I was also a pretty good athlete. But I was still thinking of selling drugs because I didn't have the means to survive. It was such a struggle growing up, not really having anything. And if not for my uncle, I definitely would have sold drugs. I don't know exactly how it would have turned out today. Maybe I would have never got caught. Maybe I would have been a big-time drug dealer. Maybe I would have stopped once I had enough to the point where I was set. But it's not something that I wanted to do. It's something that I felt it was necessary in order to make it. So women, they would normally sell sex. Sex sells. That's why OnlyFans doing this is a terrible business idea. But sex sells. Sex sells primarily for women, not necessarily as much for guys. That's not something that's just the truth. It's reality, right? So for women, they sell sex quite often, and men, they sell drugs. And that's what I was going to do. I was going to sell drugs until my uncle said, you better not do it. So people are going to do what they have to survive. So my question is, it's not a question, this is a statement. I'm going to have a question after. So if you want people not to do these things, you have to pay them enough. You have to make sure that they have enough to survive. That the floor isn't through the basement and they're drowning. There's a flood in the basement. That's the reality that most people live under. Their floor is the basement and it's flooding. They're getting ready to drown. So if they got to kick the door, do some property damage to get out and not drown, they're going to do that. They're going to do that. Because I know I won't let myself drown. And if you're being honest with yourself, you won't let yourself drown. People's circumstances quite often are going to determine the path that they take. Almost always determines the path that they take. So now my question is, are you in favor of if you really are against sex work, you really want to end this, what you view as the most morally repugnant thing to do. Do you want people to make enough to survive in this country? So it's not going to end it, because some of you may be shocked, but people love sex. Some people may do sex work simply because they love it. And that's fine also. But the vast majority of people, even some people that I know that have turned in that direction, they do so because they're struggling. I have friends that started stripping to put themselves through college. So they started stripping to make a better life for themselves. So if you view this as the most morally repugnant thing ever, wouldn't you want to reduce it as much as possible? Give people options so they feel they don't have to go into sex work in order to survive? So are you in favor of paying $15 an hour? Is not even a living wage, to be honest. Are you in favor of paying something more so they don't have to struggle? That everyone's floor is at least a floor where they're not drowning, where they have their basic needs met. Because you can do so much more when your basic needs are met. When your basic needs are not met, this is not shocking, but you're very low on options, and you're going to do whatever you can to at least get that met. It goes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're in survival mode your entire time, then in your entire existence, you're just worrying about surviving. You can't worry about achieving whatever top level is, like actualizing your dreams. It's almost impossible. And I'll use myself as an example as well. Prior to my getting very sick and medical bills and not being able to work ruining me, I had a good amount of money in the bank prior to getting sick. But then after getting sick, not being able to work plus medical bills completely wiped me out. If I did not get sick and I had even that much money in the bank still, or even half of that, even a quarter of that, I would be solid. I wouldn't be great having a quarter, but I would be solid if I had a quarter of that saved up. If I had half, I'd be very good. So imagine the full amount. So I would be able to do much more right now than if I didn't have. Then I'd be able to do much more right now compared to what I am able to do now. So it's a reality for many. I think 77% of people live paycheck to paycheck. But you don't want to acknowledge it. You want to have it both ways. Have your cake and eat it too. Ain't happening. So that's all I gotta say for this video. If you like the content, like and subscribe to the channel, turn on the post notification. I'll post videos in the future. But I gotta leave you with one more thing before the video is over, and that's the word of the day. The word of the day for today is nuance. Nuance is spelled N-U-A-N-C-E. The definition of nuance is a subtle difference in or shade of meaning, expression, or sound. So now I will attempt to use nuance in a sentence. Discussions such as this often require nuance that people are too lazy to engage in. Hopefully I use that sentence correctly. So again, if you like the content, like and subscribe to the channel, turn on the post notification. I'll post videos in the future. Use nuance in the comment section below so you can watch the video to the end. And yeah, that's it. So if you like my content, if you want to support me a little more, you can donate to my Patreon anywhere between $3 or $10 a month. My Patreon is patreon.com/keepit100dre. It helps the channel grow massively. I would really appreciate it. Or if you want to donate any more, you can donate to my Buy Me a Coffee. It's buymeacoffee.com/keepit100dre. You can donate unlimited amounts there. And anything you can donate, if you can, helps the channel. If not, subscribe to the channel. I love you anyways. So that's all I say for this video. 100%. Peace.
Well, I've been stacking up. Nah, really, that ain't accurate. Cause I just spent my whole damn advance in the past couple months just to compensate for times we ain't have enough. Ooh.